In the annals of NBA history, dynasties are celebrated like legends of old. The Boston Celtics of the 1960s, with their 8 consecutive championships under Bill Russell's ironclad defense. The Showtime Lakers of the 1980s, dazzling the world with Magic Johnson's no-look passes and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's skyhook. The Chicago Bulls of the 1990s, immortalized by Michael Jordan's gravity-defying leaps and 6 rings in 8 years. And more recently, the Golden State Warriors of the 2010s, revolutionizing the game with Stephen Curry's three-point barrage and for titles in 8 seasons. These are the stories that dominate highlight reels, documentaries, and barbershop debates. But there's one dynasty that slips through the cracks, a team that won 5 championships over 15 years, maintained an unprecedented level of consistency, and influenced the modern NBA in ways few acknowledge. They did it without the flash, without the drama, and often without the headlines. This is the story of the San Antonio Spurs from 1999 to 2014, the greatest dynasty that no one talks about. Why the oversight? In a league built on star power and spectacle, the Spurs were the antithesis: methodical, selfless, and, to some critics, boring. Led by the stoic Tim Duncan, the fiery Tony Parker, the enigmatic Manu Ginobili, and the masterful coach Gregg Popovich, they built a machine of efficiency in a small market far from the glamour of Los Angeles or New York. Yet their legacy is profound, a model of sustained excellence that redefined team building, culture, and longevity in professional sports. Join me as we dive deep into the Spurs' era of dominance. We'll explore their origins, the key players who formed the Big Three, the championships that defined them, Popovich's revolutionary coaching style, their fierce rivalries, especially with the Lakers, and why, despite all their success, they remain underrated. By the end, you'll see why the Spurs aren't just a dynasty, they're a blueprint for basketball immortality. From ABBA outcasts to NBA contenders, the foundations of the Spurs. To understand the Spurs dynasty, we must go back to their humble beginnings. The franchise was born in 1967 as the Dallas Chaparrals in the American Basketball Association ABA, a rival league to the NBA known for its red, white, and blue ball, three-point line, and flamboyant style. The Chaparrals struggled financially and on the court, relocating to San Antonio in 1973 and renaming themselves the Spurs to evoke the city's Western heritage. In their early ABA days, the Spurs showed flashes of promise. Led by players like James Silas and Swin Nader, they made the playoffs multiple times, but championships eluded them. When the ABA merged with the NBA in 1976, the Spurs were one of 4 teams absorbed along with the Denver Nuggets, Indiana Pacers, and New York Nets. The transition was rocky, the NBA was more structured and competitive, and the Spurs posted losing records in their first 3 seasons. The turning point came in the late 1970s and early 1980s with the arrival of George Gervin, the Iceman, a scoring machine with a finger roll that defied gravity. Gervin led the league in scoring for times 1978-1980, 1982, and helped the Spurs reach the Western Conference Finals in 1979 and 1982. Gervin's stats were gaudy. He averaged 26 points per game over his Spurs tenure, shooting 50% from the field. But despite his brilliance, the team lacked depth and defense, often falling short in the playoffs against powerhouses like the Lakers. By the mid-1990s, the Spurs were mired in mediocrity. A pivotal injury to star center David Robinson in the 1996-97 season tanked their record to 20-62, the worst in franchise history. Duncan was no ordinary rookie. Standing 6 feet 11 inches with a 7 feet 4 inches wingspan, he possessed a rare blend of fundamentals, intelligence, and versatility. In his debut season 1997-98, he averaged 21.1 points, 11.9 rebounds, and 0.5 blocks, earning Rookie of the Year and leading the Spurs to 56 wins. But it was under coach Gregg Popovich, who took over mid-1996-97, that the dynasty's foundation was laid. Popovich, a former Air Force Academy graduate with a background in intelligence work, brought a no-nonsense, team-first philosophy. His impact was immediate. The Spurs' defense jumped from 18th to 1st in the league in defensive rating, with Robinson and Duncan forming the Twin Towers. The Spurs had a front court that dominated both ends. Robinson, at 7 feet 1, provided athleticism and rim protection, while Duncan added post-scoring and rebounding. Their partnership was symbiotic. In 1998-99, the lockout-shortened season, the Spurs went 37-13, with Duncan averaging 21.7 points and 11.4 rebounds, and Robinson contributing 15.8 points and 10.0 rebounds. The first ring, 1999. Proving the doubters wrong, the 1998-99 season was the NBA's lockout year, condensed to 50 games, but it provided the perfect stage for the Spurs' emergence. Seeded first in the West, they dispatched the Minnesota Timberwolves 3-1 in the first round, then swept the Lakers for 2-0 in the semifinals, a stunning upset against Shaq and Kobe's budding duo. Shaq averaged 26.6 points, but the Twin Towers limited him to 47% shooting, while Duncan posted 29 points per game in the series. In the Western Conference Finals, they faced the Portland Trail Blazers, led by Rasheed Wallace and Arvydas Sabonis. The series went to a decisive Game 4, where Sean Elliott's Memorial Day miracle, a corner three with 9 seconds left, while trailing by 2, clinched the 86-85 win and a 4-2-0 sweep. Elliott's shot, taken while tiptoeing the sideline, is one of the most iconic in Spurs history. The finals pitted the Spurs against the New York Knicks, an 8th seed that had upset the top-seeded Miami Heat. The Knicks, led by Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell, were gritty but undersized. Duncan dominated in Game 1. He scored 33 points with 16 rebounds in an 89-77 win. The series highlight was Game 5 at Madison Square Garden, where Avery Johnson's baseline jumper with 47 seconds left sealed a 78-77 victory and the Spurs' first championship. Duncan was named Finals MVP, averaging 27.4 points, 14.0 rebounds, and a point to blocks. The Spurs' defense held the Knicks to 80 points per game, showcasing Popovich's system. This ring validated the small market team, but it was just the beginning. The Spurs' 1999 title marked the start of a 15-year run where they won 50 games. In 18 consecutive seasons, a record, including lockout-adjusted equivalents. Rebuilding and reloading, the arrival of the Big Three the early 2000s saw the Spurs transition from the Twin Towers to the Big Three. Robinson's injuries limited him, but Duncan carried the load, winning back-to-back MVPs in 2001-2 and 2002-3. In 2001, the Spurs drafted Tony Parker, a speedy French point guard, with the 28th pick. Parker, just 19, brought pace to Popovich's system. In 2002, the Spurs selected Manu Ginobili with the 57th pick. The Argentine guard, fresh from EuroLeague success with Virtus Bologna, added flair with his Eurostep and fearless drives. Ginobili's rookie year 0-03 saw him average 7.6 points off the bench, but his impact grew. The Big Three, Duncan, Parker, Ginobili, formed a core that emphasized international talent, a Spurs hallmark. Popovich's coaching adapted. He gave Parker the keys to the offense, allowing his speed to create open looks, while Ginobili's creativity off the bench provided a spark. Rivals loomed, especially the Lakers. The 2000 Spurs-Lakers rivalry defined the West, with 7 playoff meetings. In 2001, the Lakers swept the Spurs for 2-0 in the conference finals, Shaq averaging 27 points. But the Spurs fought back. In 2003, they met again in the semifinals. Duncan's quadruple-double near-miss in Game 6, 21 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, 8 blocks, clinched the 82-78 win, ending the Lakers' three-peat bid. The 2003 championship, Duncan's masterpiece. The 2003 season was Duncan's pinnacle, averaging 23.3 points, 12.9 rebounds, and 0.9 blocks. He led the Spurs to 60 wins. Robinson announced his retirement, adding emotional stakes. In the playoffs, they beat the Phoenix Suns for 2-2, then the Lakers for 2-2 in the semifinals, a series remembered for Robert Horry's missed 3 in Game 5 that could have tied it, and Duncan's 37 points and 16 rebounds in the clincher. The conference finals against the Dallas Mavericks went for 2-2, with Duncan dominating Dirk Nowitzki. The finals versus the New Jersey Nets were a defensive slugfest. Duncan set a finals record with 8 blocks in Game 6, finishing with 21 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, and 8 blocks, the closest to a quadruple-double in finals history. The Spurs won 88-77, securing their second title. Duncan earned his second finals MVP, averaging 24 points, 17.0 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and 5.3 blocks. This ring solidified the dynasty. The Spurs became the first ABA team to win multiple NBA titles, and Popovich's system proved adaptable. Back-to-back bids and the 2005 title. The Big Three emerges the 2003-04 season. saw the Spurs win 57 games, but they fell to the Lakers in the semifinals for 2-2, infamous for Derek Fisher's 0-point for second buzzer beater in Game 5. It stung, but fueled the 2004-5 campaign, with Parker 16.6 points, 6.1 assists, and Ginobili 16.0 points, 3.9 assists stepping up. The Spurs won 59 games, playoffs, beat Denver for 2-1, Seattle for 2-2, then Phoenix for 2-1 in the conference finals, where Ginobili's Eurostep dazzled. The finals against the Detroit Pistons were a defensive war, dubbed the ugliest finals. Games averaged 84 points. Duncan struggled early, shooting 41%, but Ginobili's 27 points in Game 1 and 26 in Game 2 set the tone. The series went to Game 7, where Horace 3 with 5.8 seconds left in Game 5 swung momentum. In Game 7, Duncan had 25 points and 11 rebounds, clinching an 81-74 win. Duncan won his third Finals MVP, 20.6 points, 14.1 rebounds. This title highlighted the Big Three's synergy: Duncan's post presence, Parker's speed, Ginobili's creativity. The Spurs' defense held opponents to 84.7 points per game in the playoffs. The 2007 sweep and peak dominance. 2005-06 was a 63-win season, but the Spurs lost to the Mavericks in the semifinals for 2-3. With Ginobili's controversial foul on Nowitzki in Game 7 overtime, it motivated the 2006-7 team. Winning 58 games, they beat Denver for 2-1, Phoenix for 2-2 amid controversy over Robert Horry's hip check on Steve Nash, and Utah for 2-1. The finals against LeBron James' Cleveland Cavaliers were a mismatch. The Spurs swept for 2-0, with Parker earning Finals MVP, 24.5 points, 57% shooting. Duncan averaged 18.3 points and 11.5 rebounds, Ginobili 16.8 points off the bench. This ring marked for 9 years, tying them with the Lakers for most in the post-Jordan era. The Spurs' 50-win streak reached 8 seasons. The twilight in 2014 redemption, the beautiful game. The late 2000s saw the Big Three age, but Popovich adapted with role players like Kawhi Leonard, drafted 2011, from 2007 to 13. The Spurs won 50 games annually, reaching the finals in 2013, but losing to the Miami Heat for 3, with Ray Allen's Game 6-3, forcing overtime. The 2013-14 season was revenge. The Spurs won 62 games, blending veterans with young talent. This fifth ring, at ages 37 Duncan, 31 Parker, 36 Ginobili, cemented their longevity. Gregg Popovich, the architect. Popovich's 1,366 wins NBA records stem from his philosophy: pound the rock, emphasizing persistence. His impact: 22 consecutive playoff appearances 1998 to 2019, a record. Pop's style: blunt feedback, player development. International scouting influenced coaches like Steve Kerr, Mike Budenholzer. His Spurs way prioritized culture over stars, fostering selflessness. The Big Three: heart of the dynasty. Duncan, 5 rings, 3 Finals MVPs, 2 MVPs, 15 All-Star, 15 All-Defense, career, 19.0 points, 10.8 rebounds, to point to blocks. Parker, for rings, Finals MVP 2007, 6 All-Star, speedy pick-and-roll master, average 15.5 points, 5.6 assists. Ginobili, for rings, the All-Star, 6th Man of the Year 2008, Eurostep innovator, average 13.3 points, known for clutch plays, their unselfishness, no ego clashes, salary sacrifices for depth, rivalries and records. Beasts, Lakers, 7 playoff series, Spurs won 4, key, 2003 upset, 2000 for Fisher's shot, records, 18 consecutive 50-win seasons, highest winning percent 60.2% from 1997 to 2017, most playoff wins 1998 to 2019, influence, pioneered international talent. Parker, Ginobili, analytics, player rest, why underrated, small market, boring style defense over dunks, no scandals, media favored flashy teams, yet their consistency rivals any dynasty. The true greatest. The Spurs dynasty isn't just about rings, it's about excellence without compromise. In an era of super teams, they prove culture wins. Popovich, Duncan, Parker, Ginobili, legends who deserve the spotlight. The greatest dynasty no one talks about. Time to start the conversation.